response video, I guess, to the virtuous pornographer. Did respond to a video on the website. Hasn't even made it to YouTube yet. And he's finding us rather boring. Well, anyway, I'll go to the video. I'll just do parts of it.
Gary, rehashing the same old shit because really he doesn't have anything new. There's a limit to his intellectualism. The stuff that he's thought about in his little room in his hippie hovel that he has a good grasp on is what he deals with. And if you try to deal with anything else other than what he's already thought about, he goes off in another world, just like this bullshit.
Well, that's not what's happening. There's conclusions, and it's like humanity has been living this thing. They've been chasing the cheese for a long time, 10,000 years. And, what is there to say? I mean, it's obviously been rather stupid. There's been a lot of nonsense and idiocy going on, and it's kind of simple. The conclusions of the philosophy are kind of simple. Yeah, we're just desire machines. We're just chasing. Maybe we should do that in a better way. The end. So, yeah, the message isn't that complicated. But there's still plenty of people like you who want to distract from the message, and talk about some sort of magic. And that's all you're really doing. You just want to keep making the cheese chase make sense.
That he's talking about now, about how there's no life, this Stephen Hawking's bullshit, how there's no other life in the universe. That's what that fucking retard in that wheelchair talks about. He's supposed to be some great science, knows all about the universe. You're gonna sit there and say there's no life in the universe, there's no other intelligent life in the universe.
Yeah, well, look, he says a lot of things, and then he says one thing, and then 3 months later he says something else, because I had the exact opposite criticism of him, because he does support flying around in the universe looking for this stuff, or colonizing space and the rest of that nonsense, and that doesn't make any sense. He's a fucking physicist. He should know the obstacles to getting any human being anywhere very far in space are just monumental. But I think it's just an idea of, it's a way to spend more money on physics, and, he's in the physics business, so he gets more money. But whatever. It's really not about Stephen Hawking's, and it's not about me. It's about the subject, and you can never stay on the subject. And so, let's talk about the probability of there being life on another planet. Let's talk about what happened on this planet. But you don't do it in any detail. You just do it in this way, this let's insult somebody way, and it's just kind of pointless, isn't it? I mean, how is that elevating the debate? Or how is that taking the debate anywhere rational?
Gary now is saying there's no, it's like a lottery. We're the winners of the lottery, and the chances that anybody else in this vast ocean of space and stars, there's no other life out there.
That's not what I said, but I'm just saying that it's a huge... all we know for sure is that it doesn't happen easy. Okay, that's it. We can't draw any conclusions. We don't know how difficult it was, because we don't have the diagram. We don't have the blueprint of what happened here to know exactly how impossible it was. And it could have been literally really bizarre. It could have been 700 lightning strikes in a row in the same place, or some other preposterously unique circumstance that made it possible for this reproducing membrane and this DNA blueprint molecule to combine. And that's really what was required here. There had to be almost a reproducing membrane cell that was already functional in reproducing itself, and the DNA molecule fully formed and ready to do its duplicating thing, and those two had to combine in such a way as that they worked together, okay, by accident. And it's just not that simple. It's not something that's going to happen. You can swash around amino acids in a beaker forever, and you're not going to sit there and throw a cell together. It doesn't happen simple and easy. It's a complex process that had to do to get to the first stage. Okay, and we call that life, but really, there's a big difference between a single-cell organism and a human being. And there's a whole nother chain of events that you have to go through to get to the human thing, where you have this reflexive central nervous system, you have consciousness, the ability to feel, you have sensation. I mean, come on, these are all things that may or may not happen in an evolutionary process. And some of them can only happen under very specific circumstances.
Sit there in your room, smoke your dope, and think about economics and politics, and because it's stuff of random substance, of shallow substance. You can think about fake money and pretty much get it right. There's nothing real there. I mean, you can't get it wrong. There's nothing real there to begin with.
Well, that's rather insulting. I mean, economics really was kind of complicated. I mean, figuring out the life thing was easier for me. I did that when I was still a teenager. Figuring out the economics thing, that took a long time. It's hard to figure out how all this money goes around and comes around, and what is it really made out of, and all that shit. That doesn't just fall on you. That isn't just, you don't look at the system and it doesn't become obvious where the flaws are. You really have to pick at it and figure it out. So it's kind of a stupid criticism.
Politics is the same. You can go this way or that way with politics. You can argue about it all day you want. Doesn't matter. One side's going to say they're right, and the other side's going to say they're right. It all comes down to will. Whoever has the will to assume authority is going to win.
Well, I think it's a little more than that. It's a persuasive argument. That's what part of making these videos is about, is refining the argument. It's not about it's not bringing up a new subject every day. No, it's articulating a logic or a rationale, an explanation. It's a presentation art form here a little bit. And so part of this whole thing isn't just the conclusions, it isn't just the philosophy, it isn't just the politics, it isn't just what you're saying, it's how you're saying it. It's refining the argument, making it persuasive. All right, and that's part of what we're trying to do here. And if you find it dull and boring and uninteresting, well then fine, move on to whatever your next agenda is. But somebody's got to do this hard part of making a real argument, not just some let me put on a stupid hat and, say a bunch of outrageous shit, and somehow that's going to solve the problem, because that isn't going to do it.
Narrow spectrum to where this planet can form in orbit around this star, to where the temperature on this planet is such that it maintains liquid water on its surface.
Yeah, well, you can't even say it's necessarily water. It might be ammonia. I mean, maybe ammonia and water mixed, and alcohol, and a few other chemicals. I mean, it's not just one chemical that makes life happen. All right, it was a soupy sea of chemistry that made life possible, and that requires a very specific environment. And you're still, like I said, we're not arguing does it or doesn't it. We're arguing, well, yeah, is it simple? Does the chemistry happen routinely? And I would argue to you, there's lots of arguments to point out that it doesn't happen routinely. I mean, Earth has been sloshing around a long time, and there's no other competing life form. There's nothing else but DNA life. Okay.
Shit, when you say they haven't done the experiments, or they have done the experiments. They've done the experiments where they've
I didn't say they haven't done the experiments. What I said is we haven't recreated a reproducing molecule. All right? We haven't been able to figure out that whatever it is, that scenario, that configuration that allows the reproducing membrane and the DNA thing to combine in a functional way. Because that's what's really happening in a cell. Okay? You got to when a cell divides, it's not only transferring DNA, it's transferring the mechanism, okay, the cellular mechanism. The membrane goes with it, okay, and the mechanics that maintain the DNA molecule go with it. So it's not just a DNA molecule. It's a membrane and some functional parts are the required constituents to have a reproducing cell.
100% chance that somewhere out there is life. Because
yeah, well, you just can't say that. You can't. All right? Because you just don't know how fucking difficult it was. And you can keep saying that, I'd say that, yeah, it happened here. And that's, we're going to be influenced by that. All right? The fact that it did happen here. and it's going to prejudice our perception, because we're going to say, well, if it happened here, it can happen someplace else. But the bottom line is, the factual truth is, we can't know that yet. Not until we see how difficult it is, how bizarre the circumstances have to be for a goddamn those two elements I was speaking about, the DNA and the membrane combining, how difficult that is to cause. Alright, well, anyway, summing up, yeah, it's just, look, every one of your videos is, so much crap and so little substance. I mean, you make little tiny, 1-2 sentence rational argument, and the rest of it is just this theater. So, I mean, it's really hard to debate theater. I mean, it's a nice art form, but it's not, you can't really have a philosophical debate